Yeah, okay. I clicked the button. We can start. Welcome, welcome. I think soon we will hit like 10 episodes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I did look because I have a YouTube. I have a recording. I have one YouTube video that's public, but it's not published
mhm.
of my telling a story in a PNP. And I went and I looked at the statistics on it,
Mhm.
and because there's a number of views, and it actually shows the out of out of the total number of views, there's a graph that actually shows how many watched the whole thing.
Mhm.
So you could go look and see. Um, we didn't have as many people look at the last one, I don't think, as the one before. And it'd be interesting to see how many people actually watch how much of it,
Well, it's
or
like it's like
or if we're not interesting enough to
I
hold their
try.
attention.
It's uh, I don't. I think we discussed it. Like the this book, uh, Bhagavad Gita. And
Oh,
in
that's the Bhagavad Gita.
yeah, yeah, in like good, very good translation, like our some of our like philosophers, and oh no, no, he's like anyway. I mean, like it's there's like in Bhagavad Gita, like chapter 2 and like uh 37. There's like they're saying like to Arjuna, Krishna saying that don't focus on like fruits, like on goals, but you should be focused. You can only take action,
Mm-hmm.
only focus like on action, and
Okay.
you can't focus on like because it's always will be, or you will be too like high up. Okay, where a lot of views, a lot of money, and it's like in their philosophy it's bad too, or like otherwise, okay, nobody looking, no money or something. Like basically you can only act. It's like only like I, what like granted to you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read it? No.
I think I read a lot of it when I was in my 20s, and I've forgotten it, most of it.
Yeah, it's kind of you
I
very
re I read it. I read it probably in the same era when I never read the Upanishads. Um, I think I read it around the same. I think I read it not long after I'd finished reading all of Solzhenitsyn,
hmm,
because I think I'd finished all of Solzhenitsyn's work about the age of 21.
hmm. Interesting. Oh, it's actually 247. So, like, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of action.
Ah,
And there it goes. So, never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So you're basically yes, we are not entitled to the fruits of actions, like bad or
yeah,
good. We can only like we have only right to perform our duty.
yeah.
It's kind of interesting philosophy. It's I'm only like left two chapters, and it's only like one read, so basically I understand nothing, like only a few things. Like it's kind of kind of some kind of effect, so I remember it, but mostly it's all like white noise. This one like 247 and about dharma, that's it's better to do your dharma, your path, than perfectly doing like other dharma. So like poorly
Yeah.
doing your dharma, like your like destiny, than doing greatly others. So it's kind of interesting philosophy. Maybe
Yeah.
after 10 reads, I will understand something like with writing. It's how we're doing like in book club.
Could I read you a poem
Yes, yes.
that might be connected in this somewhat? Let me open that folder.
Connected to this,
A little,
how it is.
a little connected to this subject. Um, it's going to take a moment to open. Okay. All right, where are we here? Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, video. Okay. Okay. This is a poem that's called "Does the Daisy." You have daisy flowers, right? Do you have
Yeah,
a class flower that you call the daisy that translate? Okay.
yeah.
So, so does the daisy think itself to be the author of its position in the sky? Does the daisy bask in the sun, thinking itself the agent of its position? Does the daisy think itself responsible for erecting the stalk upon which it attains its height? Does the daisy think to itself, oh, if you green cells could experience the ecstasy of my sunlight center crowned with white fronds, you would understand. Does the daisy pity the cells for their of the structure for their part in the daisy's self-apparent achievement? Does the daisy see soil or dirt hidden by other leafy members of the village? Does the daisy think itself fortunate to be so far above the thankfully obscured soil and so remains pristine? Does the daisy think those distant lower parts under the surface of the dirt, stretching, reaching, seeking to take from the materials available, to be stuck or trapped in a limited, primitive, repetitive darkness? Does the daisy exult in its own grandeur, remembering the effort and energy spent during its budding, maturing, and opening as self-actualization that is available to all those cells below if they but tried? Or does the daisy see itself as the sign of approaching the end of the active, expressive phase of a cyclic, repetitive process? Or does the daisy see itself as the result of a myriad of small events, actions, and reactions of the cells supporting its flowering? Or does the daisy accept the part it plays as the expression of the collective effort of the differentiated cells that arise from the seed, the threshold of this phase of the cycle? Or does the daisy recognize the chain of events that had to happen nearly just so for its chance to copulate with its kind, with the assistance of the unrooted beings moving through the mobile phase of their life cycles? Or does the daisy thank their ancestors' succession of temporary anchorages in the soil that brings the blossom to fruition this time, in this place, with this village? Or does the daisy accept that all of this reproductive cooperation across generations may, in this case, be ended. The fawn happens to be passing in its grazing regime. Or does Daisy rejoice in their collective of cells, that their collective of cells and material will be entering the phase of dropping its defenses and sharing its entirety with its village companions, present and future? Or does the daisy suspect it's the vehicle for the poetic wandering by another villager, perhaps believing himself part of a species uniquely endowed with the gifts of curiosity, wonder, and genius?
Please send me after that a text so I will read it, because for me
Okay.
it's hard to focus
It's
in English, and I am a visual guy.
yes, yeah,
Not
and there's a lot of conceptual words in there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like to keep the context, the asset
Mhm.
uh, so we
But it
talk.
speaks to that
Mhm.
thinking that you're responsible for what happens, what you achieve, solely.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. And before we talked about this podcast with Nate Higgins, right? Nora Bates and Zach Stein, I think his name.
Yeah, Zach Stein. Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you think
Yes.
about the topics that they discussed?
Um, well, Zach, I mean, yeah, I found it really interesting, uh, and as troubling as I think they find the situation, um, because I know the atrophy of cognitive capability is real. My understanding, to go back a little ways, is that, for example, if we take the idea or the model that DNA provides sort of the template for a creature.
Mm-hmm.
And so the, the brain and the nervous system forms in a way that's general. We know that children who are raised in a bilingual environment where they're dealing with oftentimes one language at home, one language in the public, or an environment that's mixed. If a child is bilingual early or from the beginning, then they can learn a third, a fourth, a fifth language rather easily. Because my understanding is that general structure of the nervous system and the brain develops in response to stimuli. And if the stimuli for which there are capabilities built in to that general structure, if those sections of the system are not exercised, they just shrink. And so for someone like an American who we don't try and learn another language until we're in secondary school, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard by the time you're 14 to learn another language because that capacity of the neurology has atrophied, is actually diminished because it doesn't need any resources because it's not being utilized. So it actually shrinks and it becomes very hard to learn another language. the same thing is rather true for all of our capabilities.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
basically like
the
on
atrophy is that, yeah, if we don't use it, we lose it.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, and all it's what we talked like before about entropy, right?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
not only about like glass with hot water, right? And it's like
right.
dissipating
Yeah,
temperature,
yeah,
like kind of averaging, but it's with
yes.
all like basically all exists like ideals, right? Like our memory, it's lasts like on some on culture, on like this there's like substrate, right? Like nature, biological, like animal
Hmm.
basically, like tabula rasa,
Hmm.
right? And then we build something like with rituals, right? With symbols, right? With some kind of
Yeah.
ideals. We have like some kind of like honor or like love and some, all this like ideas, turn other cheek, about like feeling some stuff, because in animals it's like kind of they don't have it, right? Or like humans like Mowgli, right? Without like that were like raised without like humans, right?
There is the, the idea that uh, the idea that social animals don't have cultural differences, from what I've come across, is a outdated idea, because there are people who've really spent a lot of time, even Sapolsky,
Mm-hmm.
on his work, I think, with baboons, um, over 30 some years, that different packs, or different, social groups of baboons in different areas had very different behaviors
Mm-hmm.
within that group that were not um, that were developed and passed on within that group, just, and could be looked at as cultural differences.
Well, it can be looked. I'm saying, you see, the main, from what I read by like philosophers about entropy, is that's like lasting memory about something. Okay, turn other cheek, or like don't go like to some, I don't know, prostitutes, to other girls, to be like with your wife or with your husband. Like in
Hmm.
animal kingdom, they're like physical world, it's like with entropy, something like it dissipates. They can't like have a, like a constant signal, reflex neural path, that's okay, I will stay like, I don't know, with one wife, one husband, or be like on diet, or will like turn other cheek. Like in animal it's always like dissipates, because it's like, they need to be kind of flexible. And this with baboons, it can be about like Pavlov experiments, like it's like adaptation to context. So this tribe,
Hmm.
like in this context, they developed this kind of reflex, right? And another tribe, but we humans have like kind of memory, right? Long lasting, about something. We can
Hmm.
mourn people, right? There's like funerals, that's like on ritual, because animals is just somebody dies, okay, there go like like doing some other stuff. It's the signal, it's dissipates. You know what I'm saying. So it's different.
Yeah.
People can
Well, yeah.
constantly have some kind of order. There's like order, like, and chaos. And basically what's like kind of we can battle entropy, right, creating order with some kind of like this ideals, but basically memes, mimetic structures, right, and follow, for example, I don't know, some kind of religion, some symbols that there is a god, right, but the animals can't do that. So they can adapt to like too closely, like adapt to
Oh,
closely.
yeah, but they model and do transmit these differences across generations in some settings.
But not abstract, some kind of symbolic.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know as far as tool using animals and that kind of thing. I mean,
You see what
um,
I'm saying about order and entropy? That's, for example, concrete, there's like a case, a mourning of people, somebody dies. Yeah, there's like memory because with rituals, there's like funerals and so on. And we can like signal this like neural path for a long time, for example, or
mhm.
other stuff like loving one partner, right?
Hmm.
Animals, there's like no from what there's like they can't do it. They're
Uh,
very
well,
contextual.
well, even in your country, migrating storks, when they mate
Storks,
for life,
what is it?
stork, large birds, migrating
Okay.
very large birds, they mate for life, and there have been times when, now I don't know how this gets passed through generations, but many migrating birds mate for life, and there have been cases I recall reading about in Russia where one of the pair would hit like big electric lines
Mm-hmm.
and and die,
Mm-hmm.
and their mate would stay there and freeze to death in the winter and
Mm.
not move on. Now, how that might be passed generationally, I don't know, but there are some species that do mate for life, and other species have funerals. Crows, when one of their social unit dies, they'll stick around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Actually note locations where and move things around and have and the orcas in the Pacific Northwest, where their food supply has been so diminished that they're all gradually starving to death. And there have been two times now when they've had stillborn calves because of lack of nutrition. They can still gestate another calf, but when it's born dead, it used to be that when that would happen, they would the mother and the um, would carry the dead one
Mm-hmm.
for a period of time in a mourning thing. But of late, they've started doing it and trying to show trying to they've started to carry the dead one for weeks,
Mm-hmm. About
showing it to people on ships,
about
trying
storks.
to
Okay. Yes, I
uh,
remembered
you know.
now about storks because iced like this big white bird, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
big, yeah.
I remember because I read it in Conrad Lawrence, like
Oh, Conrad Lorenz?
yeah, on aggression. Have you read his book? No, no.
No, mm-mm.
Yeah,
No, you've
basically,
read more books than I have.
no. I can send you like a link because I remember storks. Uh, Basically, like he says that's like a male one and female one, they together like for all life, like eggs, but then one like gull like leaves something, they're like I don't know, like commuting somewhere or another, and the nest is empty. Another one without ring coming, and he like don't recognize her. There are no personal, like we have humans. Humans and some other animals, we can like recognize the like person, like individual, but storks they can't. So and he find with another like gull, they're like together like mating. I mean like on the nest, like warming it up. But then like previous one returns and they fight to this girls, and he just stays and he doesn't care. So and with humans, because we can recognize, okay, you Mark, like or like you from another person, I can recognize, but storks can. So that's about memory. Kind of for me, it's kind of different what we have, because I don't mourn, for example, for some other grandmother, but I mourn for my grandmother. Well, I can mourn, but still I have like personal recognition. I don't know about other animals, but that's what I read regarding storks in Conrad Lawrence book.
Yeah. So my point is that there's a variation of and symbolic transmission, perhaps not. There was a very interesting documentary done by the BBC that you might find interesting. I'm not sure if it's still a list. It was done maybe 25 years ago, called "A Murder of Crows," and that's what a flock of crows is called, is a murder.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating how there was some sort of transmission of a very unique human induced event that disturbed these crows, and it was just a one-time thing. And they did this thing, and then if they did it again, the prevailing group of crows would just go nuts over it. They didn't do it for a long time. There was reproduction. There were new crows, young ones came along, and they had the same reaction when they exposed them to this stimuli that they had not experienced. But there was some transmission of this novelty in the environment somehow, because crows are highly social. They don't all reproduce every year. They have a clan, kind of an aunt and uncle nurturing system.
Don't you think it's like conditioned stimuli, conditioned stimulus, like in Pavlov work, because like rats, they can like check on poison, and then they like kind of remember, but it's it's like yeah, it's not like symbolic value. Anyway, back to to entropy, and you were saying about like AI, about this podcast, right? And then we
we kind of got off into the weeds.
regarding children, right? Regarding like how it affects us, right? The usage of social networks and so on, and that we basically amputate, or there's like if we were to use like Marshall McLuhan terminology, right? So I'm using like navigation, GPS. I can't navigate. It's like amputates atrophy. And for some people who never navigated like me on paper maps,
Hmm.
Like a generation after me, people they
Yeah.
don't have they even don't have the skill.
And that translates for me into increasing disconnection from the ground of reality.
Hmm.
Because did you ever read David Abrams' book, The Spell of the Sensuous?
No.
I would suggest that book highly.
The sick of what?
It's a compare the spell of the sensuous,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know if it's. I would imagine it's been translated.
Hmm.
David Abram.
Hmm. And what's it about?
It's an examination of cultural practices and the degree to which the cognition of the culture is connected to the physical place that they're at. And it's also a comparison between oral tradition and literacy.
Hmm.
My African teacher, he said for their culture, what they termed literacy, they considered literacy what to be a terminal knowledge. And by terminal, they mean it's a technology or it's a practice that they recognize transforms the psyche and cannot be reversed. Once you know how to read, you can't go back to not being able to read.
Hmm.
And so AI falls into that same category of a terminal in that, and and a lot of the indigenous areas I've looked at, they consider that when you learn how to read, you've put a layer of abstraction between you and the direct experience of physical reality, of the biology.
Hmm.
You put a reputational screen, and AI, or well, the increasing reliance on technology is putting more and more levels of abstraction, separating us from, for lack of a better word, what our ancestors all considered reality.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's you know what's interesting? You there's like control of this layer
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
in real time, because you know with books, okay, you can control it in real time. You can compare different books, because books like language, right? Language. Well, but basically
Yeah.
it's all language. Yes, if we were to see it through, you know, Alfred Korzybski structural differential, you know, like with all this. Have you seen it, like with all these threads? No, Korzybski structural differential. Basically, there's like some kind of quantum soup, reality. We don't know what it is, right? It's like kind of, and we like there's like a first level of abstraction with our sensors, right? We have some bandwidth, eyes, ears, and so on, like, and then with language, right?
Hmm.
Second, like abstraction, some kind of labels, right? We call it, okay, there's like laptop, light, right? Light, it's like abstraction, because light something more than the world
Hmm.
light. And
Right.
and the thing here that now you can, like, you know, like have control of how you label reality, right? You can
Hmm.
just feed people, because they haven't like research, they haven't like participated, like don't have like relation with reality. As a scientist, like reading, you can read books, right? Or you can read like kind of nature by like looking. But now, like we will only read ChatGPT or something, another LLM.
Yeah, and so it's the further disconnection and separation now. I mean, I can read a book, and you can read the same book,
Mm-hmm.
and get different things out of it based on our previous cognitive framework.
Yeah, subjective. We have where
Yeah,
subjective
right.
view.
And then like in your book groups, in your book clubs,
Mhm.
you can discuss together and begin to see that helps in one of the terms they talked about when Nora was saying her father's definition of sanity
Mm-hmm.
in that video was a capacity to see or understand how you're making sense of the world.
Yeah. I liked it
And
very
so,
much.
at a
Yeah.
book club, you
Yeah.
can come and you will have a different mirror from another person on how they're interpreting the content, what's in that book.
Yeah, we can. What we are doing, it's what basically Nora said with sanity, right? And like with a lot of like philosophers that we read, they say it's like thinking. It's like thinking how you think, like reflection on my mental
Yes.
models, or they call like schema, right? Like
Yeah.
how I am making sense of the world, through what lens I am looking, and you can examine it, right, by like
Right.
observe it, and
Yeah.
I can
And you
understand
can
that.
make models. You can make models of that
Yes,
process for
yes, choose. It's
which
very
are
hard. It takes time, but still, I
yeah.
can like separate like me, kind of like observer, from Nikita, from like
Mhm.
some kind of schema that was like basically built, created by my environment, and I can see
Mhm.
that other people have like other mental models, right?
Mhm.
And we can like that it's all subjective. But before, like, and I know that some people, they see their reality as subjective, and it's like all should do like things that way, and
Yeah.
they can't observe their mental models, can't
Right.
reflect, and it's kind of
Yeah.
dangerous.
And to go back to the Gita, that
Mm-hmm.
meditation practice is very helpful in getting that distance from your own inner flow. Because if it's it's a both and, that we have to be in our flow in order to move through the world. We have to rely upon the sense that we've made out of what this experience is in order to navigate it
Yeah.
and to move through it and to interact just the vast number of relationships that we have, like just putting this fabric up today. I had to
Yeah.
problem solve
Yeah.
because it didn't lend itself to easily covering this mirror.
Yeah.
So I've covered the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of mirrors, um, and because there's just too much information in it.
Mm-hmm.
And but it used to be. I mean, we're managing to do this together, even though, as Nora would say, we're not in sharing physical space. Our my my familiarity with this Zoom environment built upon, I used to do a lot of, I used to do a fair number of leading addiction recovery telephone calls where there was no visual cues. And it was odd because we managed, the people who participated regularly managed to get a sense of who the other participants were. And we were able to tune in to tone of voice, pauses, cadence, words chosen,
Warm data.
and we're able to develop a capacity for entropy, or not entropy, but empathy, and connection that was quite subtle and sensitive on very limited information. And so that's one of the things that seems to be the people that are attracted to the warm data Zoom events are obviously comfortable with Zoom based on the last 5 years of
Yeah.
of so much of life taking place in this technical funneled down amount of stimuli. But it's still not the whole package, because you're not seeing me shuffle my feet. You're not getting cues about how I might be anxious about what I'm saying if my legs are moving a little bit. It's information limited.
Yeah, there's no like kind of fully warm data, right?
Right.
It's some bandwidth, and with chatbots, there's even more limited bandwidth, and
yes. And what apparently is being the results that someone is getting, the information they're experiencing from a chat bot, if they talk with it a lot, it becomes a mirror. I mean, it becomes, it's got your online history, it's got other resources to draw from. And what they're talking about is how it's going to narrow and narrow and narrow the cognitive field that the high volume users get. It's going to become narcissists staring into the water, admiring their own image. And as you say, if we take the postmodern idea that, well, my subjective experience is reality. It's kind of the postmodern position, it seems, that there's no objective reality. It's all experience, and my version of the world based on my my filters, and ignoring the fact that my traumas have shaped me into a particular, or my experiences have shaped my view of the world, but putting out the proposition that is a description of reality, or of the reality.
Yeah, and conflict, or like in family, or like separation in country, it arises from like a difference in these schemas, in mental models, because people like on the right believe fully that their reality it's objective, and this like leftists, they're like complete fools. And on the other side, Yeah, I'm just making this like
Hey,
example because everybody knows about like left, right, and leftists they say, okay, this is our reality is objective, and you are wrong. But basically, every person have like has subjective reality, and if you can reflect it, like and make some kind of connection, talk, because what you're saying important in what way you're saying basically from what I understand, chat gpt, these llms, they can be like as positive feedback loop in your to your mental models, and
mhm,
basically like a lot of experience we are like reinforcing our like thinking, like if we
yeah,
have like from the birth that people bad or like I am bad, every like situation it will be like reinforced. I will like
yeah,
to be happen in these situations, but some people can give some like balancing feedback, right? And maybe we will try to see like world through different lens, through different mental model. And I don't know, maybe LLM can be a kind of, programmed to question my mental models. I'm not sure, but in a basic like build, I think it's like reinforcing, like positive feedback loop, my mental models, and
mhm,
my like this kind of subjective, right? And I can see, I can
yeah,
like reflect. It's like hypothesis. So.
yeah. Well. The question I think they and some other people I've listened to they touch upon is yes, a technology can be applied in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
This technology could be applied in a lot of different ways,
Mm-hmm.
but the amount of investment that goes into it incentivizes perhaps the worst way of using it
Mm-hmm.
because somehow you have to pay off these massive sums of money that are
Yeah,
going into
yeah, you need to come, like some people come like from, I don't know, from one party or from a three-letter agency, and they ask, okay, guys, can you change like mental models to this one?
yeah
Maybe it's
and
all.
and you know if the technology is used in a way that expands and liberates human potential, then you're reducing your level of control.
Yeah, yeah, yes, it's.
I mean, and that was kind of like the railroad that he talked about.
Yeah.
That I mean, Teddy Roosevelt, I mean, the antitrust laws, and there's been some effort at that over the years to the last big successful. Well, I don't know how successful it's been. Um,
What
the
about now? Like,
breaking up of the telephone companies
hmm.
back in my era, back in the 70s and 80s, when they actually the the hardwired telephone companies had these monopolies,
Mm-hmm.
and so there was an antitrust or there was a monopoly fracturing effort that took place in the federal government in the legislature that
Mm-hmm.
they mandated passed laws that limited the scope and scale, but I don't see any capacity for that happening today without um, some catastrophic events occurring that just make it so obvious.
What about like the topic antitrust and and what you're saying? It's basically more like a policy opposite to like kind of right, because right it's like what's happening in New York with Zohran Mamdani, right, new mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Basically I think it's the move to kind of, you know, like more like socialism, right? What he's saying about affordable housing, like buses, childcare. I'm not sure about healthcare, but you know, like having some kind of basic layer of
Mm-hmm.
safety, of like dignity, right? Uh, because if like corporations like if they're like free reign, basically everybody like create monopoly, right, extract maximum
Mm-hmm.
profits, pass
Mm-hmm.
laws in favor of them, you know. So what do you think about this, like are you familiar with at
Well, I
least?
think um, my my suspicion. Okay, um, let me see if I can describe in the least offensive way uh, my expectations for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, or I'm convinced. I don't like to use the word belief,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but my confidence value is pretty high
Mm-hmm.
that humanity worldwide has overshot the carrying capacity of the planet based on our technological demands, and that life will become rather difficult. It's already becoming difficult in many, and our cognitive structures, our desire for aspiration, status, influence, having become, well, one of the jokes that that I would talk with a friend of mine about in the city in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, was, okay, let's say the grid goes down
Mm-hmm.
and have electricity, and at our population density, if we started hunting squirrels and rabbits to eat, the number of people who want to eat would soon eliminate the squirrels and rabbits
Mm-hmm.
as a food source. We would deplete them very quickly. And then we'd still be facing starvation. Because there was and my sense is that, given now in Russia you're not facing this situation, but energy is depleting quickly in the United States. The productivity of our oil and gas facilities um, are falling off, and people spend most of their time arguing about mimetic structures that have nothing to do with survival.
But mimetic structures, like how we, um, how I say, like how we organize ourselves, like our
Right.
structures order, it corresponds what we build on
It can.
resources, like
It it it
luxury goods.
it can do that.
Yeah, luxury goods, Louis Vuitton,
We can do that, and
or
we have done it, and we've resulted in building cities We've built more. We have built more dependency on structure, on systemic structures. I don't know I don't know how to hunt. Even if I have no experience hunting or trapping game. I have no experience at feeding myself. I I am dependent upon a humanly constructed environment.
Artificial, yeah,
And
environment, cows and
yeah,
all this stuff, corn
yeah.
on
Now,
civilization.
for the corn in the United States is turned into automobile fuel. We make ethanol from the corn and mix it with our gasoline to make a cleaner.
So you think that Zohran Mamdani win, it's like doesn't matter that the or what?
No, what he's advocating is for a greater dependency upon a central control.
Well, but it always central dependency. It's a matter like private, like one two oligarchs decide,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like elected officials that's change every 4 years. But Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they don't change. They have their billions, and they have their
Right.
drones and robots. And okay, you guys can die.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're all goods. We have.
Right. Well, in my view, we have reached a point where every, the human structures and the human um, orientations to how to utilize this complex structural system that already we're totally dependent upon. And the idea that we can just print money to provide free childcare, free health care is um, a nice concept, but it's totally divorced from any biological energy exchange system that is sustainable. It can provide comfort, and but it provides more. It makes people more dependent upon a different autocratic system than corporate system, although behind the scenes they're very united.
You see what's the difference? I see it, for example, if for a lot of people it's kind of terrible, like buses, subway, and so on. They like their own cars, and so on, like this affordable housing, living in this 10 20 story buildings people don't like. But
Mm-hmm.
for like a point maybe of like economy of resources, maybe it's better. I don't know how it affects like psychical, because like some people like to have their private things, their own house. But if we were look to China, right, regarding this climate and so on stuff, that they're building all this, alternative, like kind of energy generation, like sun, yeah, right, all this stuff. Uh, they're building it very fast. And yeah, money, it's like basically they can go like to childcare, to education free, or they can go, like he says, to Elon Musk to build like what Coma gave like 950 millions, like in some kind of tax break to Elon Musk. Or you can funnel it to, I don't know, education free education. And you know, I think first what like we need, what we should solve, it's like this thinking problem about, you know, mental problems. So people will be, if they will be more educated, there will be more conscious choices. If they can be, you know,
Well,
like reflective of their thinking. So it's like basis. And you can build all these rockets or like cyber tracks, go to the Mars, but you will have yourself, your thinking of it's just prolongates, you know, like nothing changes basically
yeah,
regarding.
yeah. The thinking is misaligned. I mean, they talk about misalignment with AI, but there's a misalignment with modern civilizational thinking also.
Yeah, it's because AI is just like a symptom. It's
Yeah, it's a reflection. It's a
yeah, it's a
reflection.
reflection.
It's made in our image and likeness.
Yes, yes, it's not about AI or how to use it.
Yeah.
It's just a technology, but it's all comes from how we see the world, reality, and
Yes.
it's not only about like some kind of software engineers who building it, like I don't know, 100 people, but it's all our societies, like in Russia, in United States, in other countries, and
Hmm.
all this what we discussed last time, school system, yeah, based on this Prussian war society, that people that basically we like creating this kind of cogs to the machine, right? To do task like to not to question, right? To not to be
Hmm.
reflective. And
Yeah.
basically, I liked that Zach he mentioned Lewis Mumford book in this podcast with Nora and Nate
Oh,
about
yeah, Zach. Yeah. Right.
a
Yeah.
myth of machine.
Hmm. Yeah.
I have his book, kind of great, like philosopher of techniques from
Hmm.
US. And yeah, basically he mentions it's comes like a long way from pyramids, how like humans, like individuals were like used as cogs in a machine to build pyramids and this like centralized power. So it just, you know, it's kind of like on idea level, on pattern, on schema, mental model, it's kind of the same. It just, you know, now it's like more flashy. But basically um,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree because it's to go back to that to go back to the discussion of atrophy of
mhm,
kind of loss.
mhm,
Um, on the one hand, what um, as far as I can tell, places where humans have survived over long periods of time successfully, and for a group of humans to survive in one place for a long time means that they are very attuned and in alignment with the underlying biological exchange system and are not taking more from it than it can provide. Their their cultures have been have have developed with um, from an empirical background.
mhm, mhm.
If if people are living in a place for a long period of time and they're very close to the relationships upon which they depend, um, and the energy exchange between the plants, the animals, the soil, the air, all this stuff, and they're aware of that, they can detect when they're making errors, when they're going in the wrong direction. Because technology is relatively simple. They're not very abstracted because they're an oral tradition. They don't have that literate filter. And so in some respects, they're actually in conversation with the environment. And if they're lucky, they detect early enough that they've made some decisions that undermine their ability to survive in that place. But that depends upon a very shared worldview. There's not a lot of independent thinking. There's not a lot of innovation, or creativity is very channeled by the elders. Because a culture that has long durability and sustainability is a very conservative culture.
Yeah, with mythology, rituals, and it explains everything. The thunder because of Thor and so on. It's like completely explanational. But then like starts philosophy, right? And the main question of philosophy, why there's something rather than nothing, right? Question like reflection on reality.
Yeah, but those questions are answered. It isn't until you start getting a more diverse division of labor that you get classes, and you get up, with agriculture, with intensive agriculture, you go up Maslow's hierarchy, and you can start asking questions like that. If everyone is basically has the same set of skills, they're all doing the same thing, and no one that preceded them knew any different. There was nothing to compare. This system works, and it meets all of our needs. It provides a collective meaning through the ritual, through the way we live. I don't think that we can appreciate the depth of meaning and satisfaction that these old traditional cultures offered to their members. There wasn't a lot of option for questioning the underlying assumptions about reality. Because the custodians of the culture, who were the elders, were constantly redirecting in what we would call pro-social directions, impulses to get too creative. So the creativity was channeled into understood channels. Into ritual, into the creativity did not lead to something new.
So we're going back to this stuff.
What's that?
We're going to same stuff. You know what there in podcast mentioned that basically it's going to from written world to again audio to the verbal use, because interface will be verbal with LLMs, and it will be like funneling, channeling us like to some kind of direction of thought. Because all these interfaces, I think, like glasses or some kind of headphones, they have now like Apple, like for translation or something. I think they shipped it,
Mm-hmm.
and he says
Oh, okay.
that
Okay.
it's going to be again a verbal culture, as it was
But,
before.
but it's going to be verbal, not like we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be verbal with an increasingly refined mirror image of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. Now we have
It's going to
written.
be increasingly fragmenting. It's going to make everyone their own little world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, and everybody will be, well, they may not have any reason to leave their house, but they'll be afraid to leave their house.
B-
Because
Interesting.
people won't understand it. There'll be less basis for mutual understanding between humans
Yeah. So
because
like.
of the reason
Mm-hmm.
of individual delusions.
Yeah, it's interesting. We will see, but at first, I think it just like amputates your own thinking. You just delegate
Mhm.
it if you use it like for thinking, not for some automatization like transcribation of text, audio to text or something, or like making a list. So some people will, how say, like be completely, I think. Devoured by they think, some not. And it's interesting, they said that this uh, commodity, or what, like the most important thing that in this day and age we should have, it's like the sanity. uh, uh, like Nate joked about Mormons, that's
Oh, the Amish, the Amish.
Amish, yeah, that because
Yeah,
without technology they have like this, they have every day they're fine. They don't need some kind of
no.
drugs, like, or like this virtual assistant. They can be in a good mood, and it's now getting more important, right?
And the Amish had the best outcomes of survivability and health, as I understand it, during the COVID years.
Hmm.
They did nothing. They took no vaccines. They kept going to church. They kept living close, and they had the least amount of mortality. They had the, they just, it was like it was like their lifestyle, eating closer to the land, eating regular food, it was like, yeah, yeah, okay, a couple of the old people died. They're gonna, death is part of life.
Yeah.
And because there was still enough of a freedom of religion in this country that they were exempt, they couldn't impose the mandates on them.
It's great, yeah, in the US that you have it. So government can't close the church?
No. Well,
Can't.
at least they didn't try to do that fight. They closed churches in California.
Because in Russia it's completely like, a lot of like fapping about like churches like in Russia and so on, but they closed. Like now we have like how to say, like there's like Svetskaya, the government, it's not like with religion. Secular, secular,
Oh,
secular government.
yeah.
Yeah, and basically because of COVID, with this completely this agenda of WEF, World Economic Forum, and other guys,
Hmm.
of WHO, World Health Organization, right? Yeah, they like some no, I think some churches maybe like because Russia is big and you can control like some kind of far
Right. Yeah.
churches, nobody. But like in Moscow region, they closed kind of they can't.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's first time I think from like beginning from 2000 years of history that's because like house of God it should be always open, right? It's
Well, I mean, that's kind of apparently,
no secular like COVID or
yeah.
something. It's that doesn't matter when you're
Well, the
like
Amish, yeah.
when you start doing it like for some kind of COVID, there's like a reason now you will like
Well,
enact a new reason.
there's some sort of reason given,
Yeah,
but um, but it also has secondary benefits to people in control because people get used to being, herded about. I mean,
yeah,
they get used to they get used to following the directives, the dictates,
yeah, yeah,
dictats.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and
Training.
so it's a mixed thing, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying is that the people in those, as technology kept coming, the use of the technology actually shapes the epistemological basis of a society. And the reliance on a technology excludes other possibilities of achieving survival. And when technology becomes your underlying survival mechanism, you rely on more and more and more. And so your solutions, your problem solving becomes more tightly focused on a technological method because that's what you've been doing and that's what your recent ancestors have been doing. And it's brought you to this place and it's your default setting.
Yeah, and we can't stop and won't stop because technology like wheel, it's a technology, right? Glass, it's a technology.
Yeah, right.
Everything is technology, and
Everything. And language is a
yeah,
technology.
yeah. So how we sense and yeah, and like in podcast they said, okay, we like because you don't trash like truck coming right and taking my trash and where we will stop. uh,
Yeah. This is, yeah.
yeah, it just way how it can be organized, and it depends on our mental models what kind of technology.
Hmm.
Okay, nuclear weapons, what about this technology, or like AI, or like gain on function research, right? We saw this
Yeah.
COVID stuff doing, okay, let's research this stuff, uh, kind of, dangerous. uh, okay, Mac, I think we can wrap it up. Maybe next time, right? We'll. Or you have something to add?
No, no, I think that I think we kind of talked ourselves into a sort of a corner here.
Yeah, till next time.